Let's be real. We all need to take a break from alcohol. Luckily, Athletic Brewing offers award-winning, great-tasting NA beers for any occasion. Take a break from alcohol with something that tastes great, from their easy-drinking Athletic Light to something a bit more hoppy with Free Wave, or even something dark and bold like All Out. Try Athletic Brewing today by going to unitedwedrink.com/athletic and enjoy free shipping on all orders over $50. That's unitedwedrink.com/athletic. Athletic Brewing, beer fit for all times. The opinions and statements in this podcast do not represent those of the host's employers, co-workers, family, or imaginary friends. Now enjoy the show. Welcome to Brew You Know, presented by United We Drink on unitedwedrink.com, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Winamp, Zune, and CB Radio Channel 23 at 27.25 megahertz. I'm your hostess with the furthest thing from the mostest, Mike Urevich. We are joined today by Kevin and Tim. Guys, how are you doing?
Just happy to be here, Skip.
Really excited. Super pumped. Hi, Mom.
We'll learn a little bit more about these two later on. But first, I must ask you two questions. First, guys, what are you drinking? And secondly, are you wishing you picked something stronger? Kevin.
I am drinking right now a North Coast Prankster, a beer that I recently featured on Old Favorite Friday, which is absolutely fantastic. It is higher in ABV, and then I have it backed up with a triple IPA, so I should be really, really drunk when the questions get really, really hard.
That is the best way of doing this show. If you are a fan of this show and you've been following us since episode 1, this one, you know that is the good choice to be making. Tim, what about you?
I am drinking Pull Tabs by Black Stack. It's a pale ale. It's a hazier pale ale for sure. But I stopped off and saw a friend of the show, Eric Hild, and thought I would go ahead and represent on the game.
Shout out to Eric Hild, new citizen of the great state of Minnesota. Or maybe he's not officially a citizen yet, but will be soon.
Yes. Yeah, well,
what's the law in Minnesota? How long do you have before you have to switch over all of your stuff?
I think you just kind of show up and say "Ope," and you're in.
You cross the state line. It says you have a friend in Minnesota. Welcome, and you say "Ope," and they're like,
"Yep.
Oh, howdy, yeah, welcome."
For some reason, I thought that Ope was a Michigan thing only. Is that a whole Midwest thing? Or?
Oh, it's a whole Midwestern thing. Okay. I'm going to just scoot right by you.
All right. So, for a little bit of information on how things are going to work today, we have 12 questions that I am going to be delivering to our contestants here, broken up into 3 different categories. We are going to have history questions about the history of the craft brewing industry, the brewing industry in general. We are going to have BJCP styles, where I will provide the guidelines as provided by the BJCP for a particular style, and the contestants will try to guess what that style is. And then finally, we will have random, which is just my way of not really coming up with a better name for that section. Now, there will be bonus points awarded throughout this for if you are able to answer more information than what I have asked of you, and those will be told to you whenever they arrive. Or if you think that there is a good point at which you should earn some bonus points, just make your argument for it, and I will decide whether or not you get some bonus points.
This is also a debate?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
All right, well, I'll take potables for
okay,
1,000
your time is up. Kevin. All right, Tim gets a bonus point right off the top for that. So he is already up 1-0. We're heading into
for doing
history.
Being funny.
for being the first one to say
That's
something
debatable.
after I talked about bonus points.
Before we start, I just want to let Tim know, just in fairness, for any question about the history of beer, I will be answering Reinheitsgebot. That's all I will be answering, just so you know.
The way they will be buzzing in, since they don't have actual buzzers, is they will be saying their name, and I'm sure by the end of this, you will be sick of hearing their names if they are not, and they will want to change their names or will no longer know how to say their own names after this episode. It's like when you write the same thing over and over and you start to think that that's not how it's spelled. That's not what does that word even mean anymore? Have many nightmares of IPA being like that from keg collars back in the day. All right, we're going into history. Feel free to chime in whenever you would like, but it would probably be best to listen to entire questions. All right, question number 1. What now defunct beer brand, contract brewed by a number of Minnesota breweries, is credited as an early pioneer of craft brewing?
Kevin.
Kevin?
Pabst?
No.
Him. Schlitz?
No. The answer is Pete's Wicked Ale.
No.
It was contract brewed at a number of Minnesota breweries, including our friends of the show, August Shell. Bonus point opportunity. What style of beer was Pete's Wicked Ale?
An ale?
Oh, hold on. Kevin.
Yes.
An ale.
Tim, a wicked ale.
Is this going as well as you expected?
But it's going better. It's way better.
Off the rails right away.
Correct answer to the bonus point is brown ale.
I have never had a Pete's Wicked Ale, nor do I ever remember seeing a Pete's Wicked Ale.
It's probably been 30 years for me, so that's good to know.
There is one more potential bonus point here for you. What company bought Pete's Wicked Ale and subsequently closed them?
Tim.
Tim.
Miller.
No.
Kevin. I'm going to go with Apple.
You are right. Tim Cook was actually very responsible for that. No. Gambrinus, Shiner's parent company.
Sure.
I'm giving you each half a point for getting ale correct in brown ale. So there's that.
I'm on the board.
You are.
I'll do my best to have that be my only points the entire time. Go.
Question number 2. What beer brand has been traditionally told to have been Garrett Oliver's audition beer to work at Brooklyn Brewery?
Were you ready for this much dead airtime?
Yes. I was actually planning on adding more in to make it really awkward.
Kevin. The brown ale.
No.
I just picked a beer from Brooklyn. I mean, how the hell would I know this?
And Tim, you don't have to say your name.
Yeah, no, I have no idea.
Okay. Black chocolate stout. He provided that recipe as his audition for his role as brewmaster. All right. We're doing great here, guys.
This is terrible. Whose idea was this?
It was mine, and I'm allowed to have some not great ideas. All right. Isabel Proximus was a sought-after sour ale produced in collaboration between these 5 breweries. Now, before you chime in, you'll get a point for each one that you get. If you get one wrong along the way, so ends your turn, and someone else can jump in. Go ahead.
Oh my god.
Oh, you're chiming in?
Yeah.
You don't
No.
have to just you can name as many. I have absolutely no idea. I don't remember that beer at all.
Right. Each of you take 3 guesses, or take 5 guesses because there's 5, and I'll give you points based off of that. Kevin, give me 5. Give me 5 brewery names.
Dogfish Head, Sierra Nevada, New Belgium, Brooklyn, and Boulevard.
Well, you got 1 point in there.
Oh wow. How many? I get 3.
You take 5 guesses.
5?
I'm not telling you which one Kevin got right.
Okay. West Vleteren, Deschutes, Jester King, Sierra Nevada, Oscar Blues.
All right. A dead 0 for you. Kevin got Dogfish Head correct on that one. The other 4 participants were Avery, Allagash, Russian River, and Lost Abbey.
Sweet.
I mean, everyone knows that one.
I vaguely remember the name of that beer, but in the most vague sense.
I don't. I think that was like from the mountains in the East Coast and near the Twain Shall Meet in like Iowa, Minnesota. So yeah, I don't remember that at all.
All right. We're doing great here, guys. Just a recap for everyone at home. We are tied. 1.5 points each after 3 questions. I think it's now going to be a race to see if anyone can get to 10. All right.
Let's just make sure we understand one thing. No matter what, the listener is not going to be the winner. Go ahead.
All right. Question number 4, the final question in history.
Thank God.
In 1979, Fritz Maytag moved Anchor Brewing to its now famous and current home in Potrero Hills of San Francisco. What type of company previously occupied this building? Was it A, textile company, B, San Francisco Police Department Internal Affairs Office, C, a coffee roaster, or C, trolley parts warehouse?
Did you just say 2 C's? I'm going to say 2, and I'm going to say textiles.
No. Wait, did you say C, textiles?
I don't remember what I said.
He said textiles. He said
did
textiles.
say textiles. You're wrong by that.
I'll go with trolley.
Wrong. Okay, it was a coffee roaster. I thought that the other 3 were kind of weird enough that you guys would kind of see through that. But no. All right. After the first round,
why would textiles be weird?
Yeah, I don't think you understand where most Minnesota breweries are. They're like, like Badger Hill was in a cabinet manufacturer.
This is not Minnesota, Tim.
Listen, they have
California.
never once,
it's even weirder.
They have never once made a textile in California, Tim. Don't you understand that?
It's all imported from other great states like Minnesota.
Okay.
All right. After the first round, still 1.5 points to 1.5 points.
Okay, my first beer is done. I'm now on the triple IPA. If I have to endure this, I will do it completely shit-faced.
I'm probably going to grab one of the THC seltzers that I got from 9 Mile the other day if we have to keep doing this.
Here's a question. Will that hit you quick enough?
Oh, it's already hitting me.
No, the THC seltzer.
The THC? No, although this stuff, I got to tell you, John, the head brewer, is a buddy of mine, and he grabbed a 4-pack, 2 and 2. He's like, these 2, you want to get shit done, do these 2. These 2, you want to just chill out and fall asleep, these 2. And that first time I did that first part, like get shit done, holy shit, I was like, I got caught up on laundry, I was doing dishes, I was dusting, I was vacuuming, I was like doing so many things, and I was like, oh boy, this is awesome. Do I really want to rely on this just to be able to like live my life? So yeah, I think that's called dependency.
Well, I'm going to award a bonus point to Kevin for finishing Prankster so quickly because that takes a lot of dedication, um, and probably frustration to do that.
Keep these things coming, Mike. I like these, random points. It's almost like we're on Whose Line Is It Anyway?
All right, let's meet our contestants here, everyone. Tim Johnson. I have here that you make signs. What's
Yeah,
that like?
I do. We do large architectural signage for anything from the Hall of Fame exhibit down at Busch Stadium to a parking sign at a local high school. So a little bit of everything.
Did you do the sign at the vape shop around the corner from me?
Is it blinking a lot?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like the V
that happens.
sometimes goes out completely and it just looks like ape shop. And that probably pulls in the same crypto bro people, but like
There was
I,
a 4 point Sheridan in my neighborhood for the longest time that only had the FO and PO. So I just got used to calling all 4 point Sheratons the FOPO.
that
Kind of checks
I,
out, honestly, right?
yeah, it really does.
Yeah.
Is that like a sub brand of
Of
them?
Sheridan?
Yeah, I've never heard of 4 points.
I don't know. I'm not a hotelier.
All right, let me call in our hotel expert. Oh,
Was that
I don't have one.
hotelier? Is that
Hotelier?
Hotelier, I believe, is the correct term. Bonus
If it's
bonus point for Tim on that
not,
one.
it should be.
All right. Kevin Abbott, I have here you're a professor of environmental studies. No, that's not right. You own a brewery. Cool.
Yes.
That's a thing. Yeah.
Enough said. Yeah, there's nothing interesting about that.
Nope. All right. Heading into round number 2, with bonus points having been given out there, you guys are now each up to 2.5 points. Congratulations.
Rocking and rolling.
Doing the unthinkable. All right. This round is about BJCP style guidelines. I will provide you country, aroma, appearance, flavor, and you just got to pick what style it is. Starting off with the country of USA. Aroma.
America.
Moderate to high hop aroma. Low to moderate malt, possible chocolate, toffee, and coffee. Clean fermentation. Some esters allowed. Appearance. Dark brown to black. Clear, should not be murky.
Kevin.
Can head. Kevin.
Porter.
No.
Tim. I mean, obviously. Black IPA, Cascadian IPA.
Ding, ding, ding. Good job, Tim. All right. Moving on. Country. Poland. Aroma. Low to moderate oak wood smoke. Hints of grainy wheat. No acidity. Appearance. Pale yellow to golden color. Tall, billowy, white head. Murkiness is a fault. Flavor. Tim.
Brodsky.
There you go.
No idea that was from Poland.
Ski? It ends in ski? You didn't? Okay.
I've had a Grudsky like once in my life, so
Well, hopefully this one Kevin will do better on. Country of origin, Belgium. Aroma. Richly malty with fruity esters. Low sour aroma that may increase with age. Should not be acetic. No hop aroma. Appearance. Darkish reddish brown to brown in
Tim.
color.
Flemish ale.
Nope. Good clarity. Ivory to tan head. Flavor. Malty with fruity complexity and typically some dark caramel or burnt sugar flavor. Slight
Quad?
sourness. Nope.
Double?
Nope.
Your mom?
Oud Bruin. Oud Bruin. All right. Final style. Country of origin, USA. Aroma, moderate to high herbal, resinous, floral, or minty hops. Light fruitiness acceptable, low to moderate caramel or toasty malt supports the hops. Appearance, medium amber to light copper color, generally clear, moderate off-white head. Flavor, moderately malty with pronounced hop bitterness. Malts
Kevin.
lean to... Yes?
ESB?
No.
English
USA.
special bitter
I
is
mean-
USA.
I mean, I don't know.
Okay, yeah, American English. American Amber Ale.
Now, California Common.
Minty? I don't know that I've ever gotten minty off a Cali Common.
I was a little surprised too. I will also say I picked every single one of those at random. I did not choose to pick those. I just scrolled and stopped, and that was what I came up with. But yes, minty threw me off with that one.
I should have gotten I wanted to guess black the Cascadian earlier, but I didn't want to be the first to go, so I wanted to let Kevin fall on his face.
Oh, well, since you said that, I'll give you a bonus point for that.
On the Grodzki, I should have. I wanted to guess that right away, but I waited and then I watched Kevin's perplexed face and knew. Okay, I got this.
You're going to be seeing that for pretty much every one of these questions. So you can just go ahead and go, Tim. I'm very comfortable with not getting any of these right.
At least I'm 40% competent on style. But minty on Cali Common, I've never had a Cali Common once in my life where mint came through to me.
I can't say that I have either. And I would wager to guess that probably whoever wrote this didn't either.
Promotional consideration paid for by the following. Play with the pros. George Foreman's KO Boxing, Roger Clemens MVP Baseball, and NBA All-Star Challenge are now on Genesis from Flying Edge. Odor Eater's Foot Powder. Its super drying formula can absorb 25 times more wetness than talc. Odor Eater's Foot Powder.
All right, we're moving into random. And I feel like we should get through it quickly because Kevin looks so fucking frustrated.
This is gonna be the shortest episode I think we've ever recorded.
Yeah, we got plenty to go to. We'll go to the news afterwards. All right. True or false? Stone Brewing's available in all 50 states.
Tim, false.
Nope.
Really? I mean, Kevin for the steal.
Kevin gets the points by default. I should have had you guys just write down on that one.
Kevin is going to also go false.
No, I'd rather go false.
They're in Hawaii and Alaska, huh?
Yeah. Plus 40 other countries.
I mean, I knew other countries. I just didn't realize they were. I mean, shit. Best Buy opened up other countries before we even went to Hawaii.
All right. Beer Advocate's top 10 beers include 7 Imperial Stouts, 1 Imperial IPA, and 2 of what other style?
Kevin.
Oh,
God damn it. Fuck, I can't forget. I had something and I forgot it.
Tim, just American IPA.
No.
Really?
Kevin,
Zima?
I'll give you another chance.
No, I'm good.
All right. Barley wine. I was very surprised.
That's not what I was thinking anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Okay. All right. What winery was the original owner of Russian River Brewing before they sold in 2002 to Vinny and Natalie?
I actually know this one, and
Pretty big winery.
is it Gallo?
No. Kevin, any guess?
Nope.
You were a wine steward. Come on. Yeah,
All right.
that I don't know face really plays well for a podcast, Kevin. Good job.
Cool. Correct answer, Corbel.
I guess I didn't know that. Okay. Anyway.
Okay. Last question. And this is where there are multiple answers to it, so you get a point for each one. According to 2023 data from the Brewers Association, which 5 states have the smallest number of breweries in them? All right, here's what we'll do. You each will get 5 guesses. I will not say whether or not you got them right. Kevin, just pretend like it's fun, okay? At least Tim's humoring me. Tim, you said Idaho.
Yep. I'm going to say Hawaii. I'm going to say Alaska. I'm going to say Nebraska. I'm going to say Delaware.
All right, you got 1 in there.
North Dakota, South Dakota, Montana, Idaho, and New Mexico.
You got 1 as well, a different one than what Tim did. From last to well, I guess the least: Mississippi, North Dakota, Hawaii, West Virginia, and Rhode Island. All right, so no tiebreaker needed. Now we move into the essay portion. I forgot to inform you guys about this. No. Okay.
I want to know what the tiebreaker was.
For shits and giggles, how many main style categories does BJCP have? Whoever gets the closest would have
119.
won. No,
it's like
100.
26, Kevin.
It's funny because it is much smaller than that. It's only 34, and then there are subcategories of each of those.
Oh, Maine! You said Maine. I don't listen to you. In my defense, I do
Kevin
not.
would have won that. Kevin would have won that.
Well, no, it's usually close without going over, so technically neither one of us would have won that.
What $1?
I didn't
$1.
I didn't say that. That's my rules. I just said whoever's closest. All right. So that was Kevin. Kevin made me feel like this was the dumbest idea in the history of man with his death stares for this.
It's not, Mike. It's not that it was a bad idea. I just didn't know any of the answers to anything. I mean, if anything, I just felt like a moron, just sitting here having nothing to contribute.
I'm really
honestly,
sad that you didn't. Once.
No, I'll be honest. It's more of me feeling like inadequate and not able to like contribute anything valuable than anything wrong you did, Mike. I'm happy to be vulnerable enough to say that.
Yeah, no, I honestly, it's great to like. I'm just glad that I did kind of semi-passable on the styles thing, because that's probably the most important from a brewer standpoint, right? Like
yeah, you got half of them right.
Yeah, and like literally, I'm not, I'm not anything. Shit, I'm not even in the. I am not in the industry, so I shouldn't have done it anyway. But no, like from a brewer standpoint, I don't need to know what was in Anchor before Anchor, right?
Well, none of us need to know that.
But I should probably understand. Yeah, but I should probably understand style guidelines, right?
Okay, so
I don't.
We'll do this again.
Once again, because I'm inadequate.
We'll do this again, but I will ask only style guideline questions to Tim, and I will only ask Detroit Tiger statistic questions to Kevin.
I won't do well in statistics, just so you know.
Well, I'm gonna just guess Jack Morris for all my style guidelines. So
Jack Morris with a little hint of Kent Herbeck for you, and then for Kevin, it's Jack Morris with a little bit of Mickey Tettleton. He didn't play for the Twins, did he?
No,
just Jack Morris did on that little thing there.
I think Tettleton played for the Orioles and the Rangers, I believe.
Oh, Rangers.
To the Tigers, I think so.
I feel like I remember him being a Ranger too.
Okay. I remember the Orioles. I couldn't remember.
I can answer those questions.
Yeah, you asked me in like the All-Star game. I don't know. I knew like 7 of those players.
He was also an Athletic. He came up as an Athletic.
I am much better at baseball. Like I'm a baseball fan, don't get me wrong. But when I was a kid, I was a baseball fan. Right? Like I
Yeah,
love going to
I think we all were.
Yeah, I love going to a Twins game, right? And I know who's on the Twins, and I know like basically who are playing. But like as a kid, well, because I was a baseball card collector, so I knew everybody, right?
Mhm.
Watching that All-Star game, it's like I don't even recognize that name, and I'm not saying that it's because they shouldn't be a household name, but like also part of the problem is that Major League Sports all went to cable instead of like over-the-air TV. If I can go on a rant for 30 seconds about that.
Well, I mean, I remember I did the rant about the blackout thing,
Yeah.
and the regional sports broadcast networks like are, I think, killing the baseball's potential reach because they are blacking out the ability for people to want to watch those games, who want to watch those games. Like even if I were to subscribe to the MLB thing for just the Phillies, anytime that they play the Marlins, I can't watch them.
You gotta say, yeah, they're all out, and then you have all of these stupid regional, like Bally Sports can eat a bag of dicks. Like I cannot deal with Bally
See,
Sports.
I mean, aren't Bally like in bankruptcy or something like that?
They're still gonna find a way to take it down, and I'm gonna have to like VPN to Kazakhstan to be able to watch a single Twins game.
I mean, Bally Sports runs the Tigers broadcast as well.
Yeah,
Yeah, they have a bunch of them.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I'm lucky that I use the MLB app, so I'm able to watch most games that way. But then I get frustrated when like Apple gets their game or so. I don't understand how I can pay whatever amount of money to watch every game and then I can't watch every game.
yeah,
That's the thing that drives me crazy. Like, oh, well, somebody else has the rights to this. Well, no, I should give me an option to pay $50 more, and can I get all the games, please? That
well, it's like
frustrates me.
MLB, like you own all of this. Like you should be offering one price to be able to watch every game.
They
Like
should
you
have
still
it.
have,
Yeah, and like NFL Sunday Ticket. They should be
Yeah.
doing some model like that.
yeah, absolutely. Okay, so getting off into a big time baseball tangent there. Let's
United We Baseball.
Let's actually talk though a little bit about some stuff that has happened very recently with closures and stuff that are kind of near and dear to our hearts, at least to like people like Kevin, because within a matter of, I think it was 24 hours, Odd Breed announced their closure. J. Wakefield Brewing announced that they weren't necessarily closing, but they are looking for somewhere to move to because they are not renewing their lease down in the Wynwood district of Miami. And if that is the case, there will only be one brewery left in Wynwood when there were four like 2 years ago. And I think the same day, Good Beer Hunting, probably one of the biggest like publications for beer related news and writing in the world, announced that they were going on indefinite hiatus, making a lot of really good beer writers without an outlet for their work. I know a lot of other stuff probably has come out like down the pipeline that maybe I've missed in the last week or so since this happened, but man, it felt like the shots were coming really fast and furious for at least a day. Kevin, like this hits you partially very close to your heart. Like any feelings that you would want to put out there? And
No, when it comes to Odd Breed, we became a partner in Odd Breed when Daniel wanted out, who was Matt Manthy's partner several years ago. And my partners really believed in Matt and really believed in Odd Breed as a brewery, and for good reason. I mean, I think at every beer competition and national and international beer competitions, he won a medal. The the beers he made were world-class beers. The problem was he made world-class beers as traditional sours and wild ales, which precisely 0 people give a shit about, and it was never a viable business when it came to that, especially in South Florida, where no one understood or appreciated the style. And I think we realized pretty early on that this might not be a long-term thing, but the beers are amazing and the passion behind it was real. I mean, Matt's one of the best brewers I've ever met in my life and cared about those beers more than anybody that I've known. So this was not something that was shocking. This is not something that was not coming for a long time. So it's disappointing. And to me, it's a real shame for the people that really supported that brand and cared about those beers that they're not going to be produced. It's one less brewer doing those kind of things for that audience that really appreciates them. And that's a shame. Yeah, I feel I love the age of specialization when someone could really, really care about a style and then it's like put their entire self into it and succeed because they were really, really good. And to be a little bit cynical, this is one of those examples where being good doesn't matter. Being the best doesn't matter. People will say, well, if we make good beer, we're going to be successful. Bullshit. That's not true. It's never been true. It will never be true. You need marketing. You need the right spot. You need the right everything. You need a lot of things to come together. You need luck. You need skill. You need marketing. And unfortunately, we had a deficit in some of those areas and a deficit in the area that we were in South Florida. So yeah, that's disappointing, but not shocking. And when you look at the other closures around us or looking at Good Beer Hunting or looking at what's going on with Wakefield, like it's just the way the industry is going. It's an evisceration. It is things are changing constantly. And we all have to adapt because the beer drinker is not the beer drinker they were 5 years ago or 10 years ago. And what everyone thought they were getting themselves into isn't the case anymore.
Yeah. That one, it hit me hard because I've always thought of Matt in such high regard. I know that there's been a lot of new brewers who have come around in this state in the last number of years, and probably some really good ones who I just am not familiar enough with their beers to have a well-built opinion on them. But Matt Manthe is one of the best brewers that the state has ever seen, if not the best. And it's a fucking shame. I give him all the credit in the world for doing something that was quintessentially his idea and his passion project. And, like, I don't want this to sound the wrong way, but like, if you're going to call all of the shots at your business, do it exactly how you want to in every aspect of how you want to, and then go out like having known that you did it that way. And that's great. That's for you. You stayed small, you wanted to, or maybe you didn't. I don't know. Just the way it always seemed like was that he wanted to be a small producer of world-class sour beers, and he did it all on his own terms. It's frustrating when you see people want to have that control but want to grow big and not relinquish any control. But I feel like Matt always did everything on his own terms. Didn't step on anyone, didn't hold anyone back while doing it. And I wish that he could have gone further with it, but I mean, I consider myself lucky to have had some of his world-class beers in my time.
That's very kind, and it's also very true with Matt's passion and his dedication to his craft.
The only thing I now hope is that that someone sees that talent and gives that dude a payday to come run their operation, turn their operation around or something, or just really understand that this is a world-class talent that you could have on your team and hopefully do great things with him. If he so wants to, of course.
That's a big part of it because some
Yeah.
people get burnt out, right?
Yeah.
and
And
don't
I-
want to be
hey-
doing this forever.
I mean, when he tore his ACL at one point a couple years ago and like worked through that, I mean, Jesus, like the dude practically gave that whole blood, sweat, and tears, but it was like ligaments.
Yeah, I mean, so this makes me think two things. One, obviously, the episode we recorded just a little bit ago about the kind of state of the union with the Craft Brewers Guild and how, there's more closures than openings type of thing. It's surprising to me in Minnesota that we haven't had that trend of more closures than openings. I would say that all of her openings are really small and her closures a little bit. Or like the other thing that we're not necessarily seeing is like a pullback. I mean, we are seeing it, but you just don't see it in real time, right? Like when all the numbers came out annually, Shells was down, Summit was down. All the big guys are down. They're still in the top 30 or whatever, but you don't necessarily account for that. And so when Dave out in Moose Lake can open up a 5-barrel system or whatever, it looks like it's an opening. And so yeah, technically the openings are outpacing closings in the state, but I don't think the barrelage is.
Yeah.
Right. The other thing it makes me think about is TV shows, man. Arrested Development, Friday Night Lights, they all require like these people to like ride in to save them, and then they're saved for like one season, and then they're still not saved because the reality is the TV viewer isn't watching them, and the consumer isn't having them. So they can be the most brilliant thing you've ever seen, or the most brilliant thing you've ever drank. At the end of the day, this is a business, right? Like we love to talk about passion. We love to talk, and I want to find the right balance between passion and business. But like Kevin, you probably more than anyone can talk about how it's a constant battle between what I believe and what I want and what I have to do. Right? I mean, I've challenged you plenty of times on this where I've probably put you in a very uncomfortable spot, which is what I hope, like the back of a Volkswagen. But but the reality is there is some of that, right? And so I can love and appreciate and respect what someone has done, and god damn, I hope, that director or that actor or that writer or whatever, the same as I hope that brewer or that whatever, they get the right opportunity. But the reality is like you said, it's about circumstances and it's about customers. And I'm not trying to blame customers, although I will judge you if you watch 2.5 Men or any of that. Like if you've ever really enjoyed a CBS, like I don't judge someone who says that they love Bush Light, but if your favorite sitcom of all time is 2.5 Men, I think less of you. That's
You
all I'm
like
saying.
Chuck Lorre
Fair.
TV
What?
shows, then fuck you.
No, I think it's
I mean, I like my comedy to make me laugh.
you're a discerning consumer. I think it's I don't know if it's a uniquely American thing or a human thing. It could be one or both, or there could be some crossover there.
It's
But-
it's the ope of whatever you're gonna say.
what I'm trying to get at is that we want to believe that everything that happens to us is kind of under our own control.
Yeah.
We want to believe that it's all us. We pull ourselves up from our bootstraps. We don't realize how much luck, timing, and circumstance goes into everything we do. I have been ridiculously successful in my life, and I'm not saying that to be like, oh my God, look at me.
No one wants to look at you.
No, don't look at me. Please, after this episode, never look at me again. But what I'm saying is that I realize I expected so much less for myself over my life, and I've been so much more successful than I thought I would be. And I look back and realize that, yes, I've worked my ass off. Yes, I've had some good ideas. Yes, I've been talented in certain aspects of my careers that I've had, but so much has been luck, meeting the right person at the right time, stumbling into something. And if you want to, put it on that teeter-totter, luck has been as important as my talent and my hard work at every stage of my life. And at any point, that luck could have been a little bit less or a little bit more, and I would be, doing something completely different and not being nearly as successful. We don't like that as a society. We want to believe like, oh, you did it all yourself. The fact of the matter is you can point to restaurants, you can point to TV shows,
Bands,
you can point to breweries,
movies. Yeah.
you can point to anything and say that the best thing out there is probably closed now. Objectively the best thing, because they didn't have the right circumstance. I'll just, wrap this up real quickly with my brother-in-law. My brother-in-law is, and Mike knows well, has worked with him. One of the best chefs I've ever known, had a sandwich shop that produced just absolutely incredible. Everything they did was so well made. Could not survive for multiple reasons. Didn't mean he wasn't great. Didn't mean everything he did wasn't fantastic and so much better than the convoluted bullshit that food trucks and other things and other, food purveyors are producing. But all the things around it did not allow him to succeed.
There's literally a concept called success bias. And like you see this all the time in people who write like how-to books or like, I'm successful because, and especially like the one that really drives me insane is, well, I'm successful because I wanted it more. Like, bullshit, right? And I'm not saying that you were, handed a silver spoon and maybe you didn't realize you were born on third base and think you hit a home run. Like some of those things, fine, but it's all these other little things that like, yeah, maybe, you know what? You worked for the right company and you made the right contacts, but you still don't know how lucky you were to be able to make those right contacts. Like, there's all of these little things. Like, the job I'm at is because of somebody I knew before. Most of my jobs have come through people that I have known. And am I really great at networking? I mean, I'm sort of charming. Right, but the reality is that like I met the right people and I was lucky enough to stumble into them. And I don't think the successful people, there is just a huge bias of I'm successful because of what I did and not I'm successful because of what I did with the circumstances that I had. Like if you are already given all these things, you take it for granted very easily. Or if you happen to find the right person, it hits. But that doesn't mean that like there isn't somebody in Wilton, Iowa, also with the exact same drive, ambition, idea, whatever, but they're not close to anyone who can help them make that idea succeed. And I don't think enough successful people get that.
Multiple things can be right at the same time. You could have had the drive. You also could have been very lucky. You also could have just stumbled into something. Like all of that can be true at the same time, despite that they seem counterintuitive to one another. We're just lucky that we're on the sacred timeline right now and that we haven't varied off of that anywhere. But yeah, like it all kind of comes down to or going back to what Kevin said before, that went back to an earlier episode that I think it was before that Tim joined as a co-host, where we talked about like, does quality matter? And like Kevin said it, yeah, but also no, but also kinda. I think what we kind of really determined from that episode was bad beer will ultimately fail, even if it sometimes seems like it is doing good for a minute or two. But good beer needs a lot of help in order to be fully successful, and some of that help can be way outside of your capabilities of control. And
Yeah.
I think Matt had a lot of that against him from the get-go. And could Odd Breed have worked in Minnesota? I don't know. Could it have worked somewhere else? I really don't know.
Well, no, again,
Florida is such a fucking weird place that there's so many different types of businesses that I feel like Brad. I feel like Brad could have succeeded in some other state in a major metropolitan area where West Palm Beach, Florida, was not going to happen. It's just, yeah, it's one of those things that you can't really control.
no, I like. Hey, Avatar is the #1 grossest film of all time.
It is.
Yeah, it is.
I
know.
thought that Endgame was.
Oh,
Yeah, I
maybe.
thought the Marvel movies kind of trumped that. But
No, I'm looking right now. Avatar is still over Endgame. Regardless, whether it's Avatar or Endgame, do I think Schindler's List is a better movie? Absolutely. So, to your point.
I loved every second of that, by the way. Thank you.
Okay, good. Yeah. Basically, I was just shouting, I'm actually right, but also, even if I'm wrong, I'm still right.
Oh, he is right by not very much by, but yeah,
I am still. So anyway, my point is regardless of those, and I'm not even saying
Loki to
Schindler's
come
List,
and
I'm just
split this off to where Tim's wrong.
I'm getting like Casablanca or Citizen Kane. There are a billion better movies, right? And so you're right. Like the shitty ones, like my home video of me.
Wait, are you Star Wars kid?
I'm
Or
Star
the-
Wars kid.
Or the shitty ones like Avatar. Go ahead.
Well, yeah, but like you said, is like
Shitty
obviously
movie.
the easy ones will go down. I don't understand how you made 90 minutes out of. It matters, but also it doesn't. But also it kind of does because I feel like that is like what the entire episode should have been.
And it
Well,
took
but
13 years for the sequel to come out.
But I think the most important thing is I spent a lot of my life looking at things in a binary and like living that and
Ones
being like,
zeros.
well, just looking at things. I mean, as simple as like, I don't like this person. I will completely shun them, not speak to them, even if they're like a prevalent person in my life, because like, I'm not a friend of theirs. I don't like them. So I'm not going to be mean to you. I'm just not going to engage with you. I felt very, very strongly that you had to take these strong stances. I saw these really clean delineation lines between everything that I should be doing. And when I got to understand Shades of Grey, when I got to understand how complex everything is, it really made my life better. And it made me understand that when someone says this is the reason why a business failed, they're using sound bites. They're just saying words that make them feel more comfortable about their own lives and their own choices.
Yeah.
This business failed because of X. No, this business failed because of 47 different big picture items and 10,000 different decisions, most of which were not made by you. And a lot of people, oh, you're passing the buck to somebody else. And in this situation, we're talking about business that I have ownership in. Well, honestly, fuck you. You don't have the mental capacity to understand what the world is actually like and what is really happening here. I'm not saying that Odd Breed did not make bad business decisions. We did. I'm not saying that we shouldn't have diversified our portfolio or changed things up. We probably should have. But at the end of the day, there are so many things that are working externally on your business and on your decisions, that you can make every right move in your own mind when you're doing something and it turn out to be every wrong move. And there's a reason why most restaurants fail. There's a reason why most businesses fail. And it's not because of quality, and it's not because of passion, and it's not because of hard work. It's because it physically cannot happen that everyone is successful and turns their company into Google.
And
That's not the way the world works, and it never will.
And it's a constantly changing landscape. I think that's the thing. It's like trying to say, I am at the exact same feet above sea level when I'm on a boat with an undulating sea. Like it just doesn't make sense to me that people try to parse it. I mean, that's human nature is, like you said, to put things into binary. This person is a good person or this is a bad person. That's one thing I've been going through with like my mental health thing is like, am I a bad person or am I a good person that's redeemable who has done bad things? Like it becomes this weird, I'm not trying to drag us down to all that bullshit. But my whole point is like, it becomes like this weird, like false dichotomy, like you said. But to me, it's not even like, even when you say like there are shades of gray, that's still even 2D. And when you're talking about owning a business, it's 3D, right? So, people judge things on a 1 or 2-dimensional scale. There's so many other things, right? You can be great at supply chain and terrible at business. You can be great at like customer service, but supply chain is going to fuck you anyway. Like there's so many other dimensions that I think people, it's easy to play Yelp quarterback and be like, well, every Friday I went in there and it was too busy. Like that bullshit happens is way too easily.
I just want to call out the fact that I think Mike just made a Dudley Death Drop hand signal while you were saying 3D. I just that's not going to be captured by the microphone, but I had to put it out there.
I caught it.
Okay.
I think there is a thing to, like I even called out some dude on Reddit the other day. Like, he's got 75% of the information, and he's gotten 60% of that 75% of the information right. So he really only has like 42% of the information. Like people are making judgments
doing
based
Steiner
off
math here.
I knew Mike was going to come up with that.
You know what I mean, though. Like people are making
You're all throwing me
assumptions based off
wrestling
of assumptions.
references here.
Jesus Christ.
No, it's everything is more complex than we understand and then we realize. And even in our own industry, we'll never understand other businesses. And when we step outside of our own businesses, we don't have a fucking clue.
I mean, I know you're doing things wrong, Kevin. I
make 25 bad decisions before I get out of bed in the morning. That has been the same deal since I was 19 years old, and it's a truth right now.
It explains that haircut. It's fine.
Mike, well, you were going to say something. Probably not about my hair, but go ahead.
Only one of them was going to be about your hair. Talking about the changing landscape, Kevin, were you working at the previous brewery when we did a collaboration with Matt as like his first iteration of what Odd Breed eventually became?
No.
Okay, because
Wild Oak, right?
Yeah, his first business partner and him were going to do pretty much what Odd Breed was wild ales and blah blah blah. They were called something different. There was a breakup between them before they even got off the ground. But we did a collaboration with him there. We made a Brett IPA together, and like that was so long ago, and that was like the brainchild of Odd Breed. And at that time, it was a growing market for craft beer. Like sour beers were very niche at the time, but gaining some popularity. And like at that time, it was a risky move. And when he did finally open Odd Breed, like that was possibly the pinnacle of like those good traditional sours before it all just went to shit with shit going
With
into
with
sour
smoothie
beers.
sours. I
Yeah.
mean, it was before smoothie sours took off,
Yeah.
and everyone thought, well, not everyone, I shouldn't say that, but people in the sour game thought, oh, this is going to introduce more people to sour beer. That's not what happened because none of those people were going to actually appreciate a sour beer when their sour beer was sweet bullshit that tasted like Gatorade.
Yeah. Even if it did introduce people to sour beers and get people into that version of sour beers, the chances of them crossing that bridge over into the traditional sours like that Matt was making and appreciating them and liking them, that bridge might have well have been in embers at that
You know,
point in time.
it was on fire from the moment and perpetually burning. Yeah, hindsight is 2020.
Yeah.
We constantly look at things and go, well, what's the niche in the market that somebody else is not hitting? But that niche has to be has to have a demand for it, right? Like open an Ethiopian food restaurant in, I don't know, Auburn Hills, Michigan. Is that going to work? There's no other Ethiopian food restaurant. Ethiopian food is fantastic, but is anyone going to go into that restaurant? You know,
Have you had Ethiopian food now?
I have, yeah.
Oh, okay. Because I remember we were talking about getting some from the place by me before, but they weren't doing takeout the night that you guys were over.
My side note, like my favorite thing about being in the Twin Cities is that we have a very great North African food culture. So come visit.
But I'm just saying, like, just because something is fantastic doesn't mean it's going to work everywhere. That's just that's just logical, right?
I mean, I grew up in a small town. You could put the best films on a movie theater. People aren't going to watch them. You're not going to make money doing it.
No.
Yeah. So I mean, we work with what we have, and we try our best. We bust our asses, and we see what happens at the end of the day. And there is this, sometimes rightly so. You look at a failed business and you go, well, they kind of got what they deserved, right? They weren't that good. They didn't make very good beer. And listen, I am just as guilty as anybody else of Schadenfreude, of saying like, oh, those guys kind of failed, and I always thought they sucked, and they've never made a good beer in their life, and now they've gone down the tubes. That's my own opinion. That doesn't mean it's not true. It's not it's not reality for everybody else that enjoyed that beer. But I understand that. I understand that feeling that people have. But you will never understand what went into that brewery. You will never understand what they are trying to do, what their goal was when they opened that thing up. And we see this now. We're going to see it more and more in the future. I said it was an evisceration of the craft beer industry in South Florida. It's not stopped. It's going to keep happening over the next 3 to 5 years. It's going to be a massacre, an absolute massacre. Because I watch the numbers from Publix and I see the sets and I go, all these people can't survive. And if you want to just chalk it up to everybody sucks and no one knows how to run a business, then you're just not looking at it with any kind of eyes wide open to reality.
Yeah. End of July is when he said that they were closing, correct?
Yeah, I mean,
There wasn't an actual date. I think he just said end of July. Is there is the 31st like the?
It's a little bit nebulous from my understanding, and quite honestly, Matt is, full disclosure, Matt's a one person. He's a one man band, right? He runs that operation. Bear LeMonc's, my partners, bought into that operation, but he's run it himself for as long as we've been part of that. And he kind of knows what's going on, and it has been kind of his baby. So this is a little bit embarrassing too, but this is the entire embarrassing to Kevin podcast. I did not know the business was closing until I saw Mike, you informed me that Oddbrew was closing when you texted me. Now, listen, I knew it was on the precipice. I knew that it was coming. I just didn't know if it was going to be July or August or September, right? But when you sent me that text message, I went and looked at the Instagram post and went, "Oh, okay. I guess it's going to be now."
I would have thought someone would have at least given you like a heads up.
But you know what? The thing is that I there's a lot of us, and this is just like the corporate structure. Corporate's probably not the right word for it, but I have.
Oh, you got
gonna
yourself corporate.
I've worked for Fortune 500 companies. The structure is like written on the back of a postcard type of thing.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, but I have 4 partners at the brewery, 3 of which are the major money partners, and one of which has worked with Matt from very, very intimately on all these kind of things. And he just didn't let me know that was happening, and that's okay. I didn't need to. I knew what was happening with the brand. I knew it was going on eventually. I just didn't know what the timeline was going to be. And like I said, found out on Instagram via my best friend Mike. That's fine.
So what would you say you do here?
What do I do?
Yeah. So
He's doing references.
Yeah, no.
Office
Yeah.
space.
Yep, it's a joke.
Well, I did not, over the last 6 months of Oddbrew, I didn't do a lot. I used to run most of the out-of-state distribution. Most of it dried up, honestly. We had a lot of people that came in from out of country, out of state, that were really geeked up about the product, loved every bit of it. And I was the one that was doing a lot of the introductions. I was finding a lot of those people. And as all that went away, I had less and less to do with the business. Also, in state, I was the one trying to push most of the beer out to distribution. And as they took less and less and had absolutely no sales whatsoever of our brands, I did less and less. That brewery became an insulated tap room that had 1 or 2 sales every quarter, maybe outside of the brewery, and Matt took that over. And
I think that could be a viable business model if you were set up that way to plan in the first place, right?
It's hindsight, man. Like,
yeah.
especially with Florida, dude. Like, I feel like so many breweries opened up like with rose-colored glasses on, like thinking that even the ones who wanted to stay moderately small, I think
they still had funky Buddha glasses.
It's not even that. It's a Cigar City. Like Cigar City is really the one, but like even the ones who wanted to be moderately small, I still thought that they were going to be bigger than what they were. And they opened up with the bigger systems. They were going 20 and 30 barrel, 50 barrel systems even for some of these fucking places. And it's like, whoa, you want to be small with that? Like,
well, they
make it a 20 barrel batch is your smallest fucking thing you can make.
They thought 10,000 barrels a year was small. They didn't realize that the reality was 1,100 barrels a year as being small or less.
Yeah. I mean, Kevin and I's breweries make approximately the same amount of beer. We're hovering between that 2,000 and 2,500 barrel mark. Yeah, which is fucking small.
But it's respectable. Like people recognize that as like a brand that distributes, and you know what I mean.
It is, but
a lot of beer.
Yeah,
but like I mean, I will not speak out of turn, but like I'm sure that our respective business owners probably expected us to be a little bit bigger than this by these points in time.
I expected it.
I think everyone thought they were going to be 5,000 barrels within 3 years of opening.
I mean, We
right? Right,
at
Kevin,
my
is that almost spot on?
at my at my first
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah,
at the first brewery, we almost accomplished that. I think
Yeah.
it was year number 3, we hit 4,300 barrels.
Yeah.
And then at least in my time there, we never eclipsed that. But it's,
And by the way,
I don't know
Mike,
if it's the landscape down here, because I look at some other places, like the way Tim talks about Minnesota, it seems like some people opening up breweries down there really know what they're going for. Like I look at your boys over at Wooden Ship, and
Yeah.
it seems like they have knew that they wanted to be a neighborhood brewery and have pretty much settled into being a neighborhood brewery.
Yeah.
And whether or not that is successful for them, I don't know. But it looks like they have achieved that, at least that visual image. And I look at places in Philly that seem to have a general idea of being that neighborhood thing and not getting any bigger. But like, it just, Florida is always this weird place where people just want to go fucking balls to the wall, like hold my beer, watch what's the worst that could happen.
Yeah.
With everything.
I think the challenge is, like, you bring up Wooden Ship. Great example. I love those guys to death. They figured out, right, we're going to be like the neighborhood brewery of Linden Hills, and we'll probably bring in like a Edina and all these other things. I think the challenge is for those guys is they don't want to be bigger, but being the neighborhood brewery in this time of inflation also does not pay their bills. And I think that is the challenge that we haven't necessarily even talked about specifically, is like, it's easy to talk about this like, oh, we think we're going to be bigger because we've got broader goals, or we're misunderstanding who we're supposed to be, or we're, all of these other things. I think the reality is like, the business model for small businesses over the last 5 years changes exponentially every single year. Like, I can, pay for my kids' daycare and pay for my mortgage in 2009 or 2019 or 2020 that I can't do now in 2024. And I think that's another thing. And I hate to like sound all super, whatever, like inflation's a problem. But the reality is like, I can be as realistic and not, keep my head out of the clouds. But at the end of the day, I still gotta freaking pay my bills. And I think that's the challenge. So Kevin, can you talk maybe more about that?
I could potentially, but I actually want to go back to something that Mike said earlier. Did you say that Due South? I'm sorry, I always say the name of the brewery when I know it's like a tradition not to say the name of the brewery. But did you say they got to 4,300 barrels?
Yeah.
Is there any better example of a mediocre brewery making mediocre beer being more successful? I mean, I know I would say this about my beer, but I'm going to say this about Copper Point. Copper Point makes infinitely better beer than Due South ever did. I mean, by I think a order of magnitude. And like Barrel of Monks, you're stuck at around 2,200 barrels a year, and they did 43. Is it because they were better? No, because they were exploiting a market that had no craft breweries at all, and they filled that gap. It has nothing to do with quality. It has nothing to do with consistency. I was part of making those beers, and I would say, this isn't very good. The method of putting yeast into this tank is obscene and makes me want to be, makes my skin crawl. But that was filling a niche that was not filled. It is about time and place, and it's about opportunity, not about quality. And then when that flask is just overflowing and all the opportunity is gone, someone who makes better beer comes in and can't produce as much. I think it's a perfect microcosm of what craft beer is.
It was also a great use of the word microcosm, so I really appreciate that.
It was my word of the day on my calendar.
Okay.
Ooh, good one. Good one.
You know how I get all anal about that, so that's perfect. Thank you.
So our weird roundabout like eulogizing of Odd Breed into our typical doom and gloom of the industry started off with a weird, wacky, somewhat depressing attempt at doing something fun. This has been a fucking Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, if I've ever seen one.
One thing I want to pop in, because we do all get doom and gloom, and I think all of us in the industry see like all of the struggles. The restaurant industry goes through ebbs and flows. The retail industry goes through ebbs and flows. Craft beer was in this thing before it got to what I would say, like people like talk about bubble. Well, like, you talk about the craft beer bubble, but at the end of the day, or like the .com bubble, there's still websites.
A lot of them.
You know what? Yeah, I know.
What?
And so
Kevin,
what?
did you know we have a website?
But like
Mind
like,
blown.
The reality is like I think people think about like these craft beer bubbles like no one's going to be drinking craft beer anymore. And so when I say like, oh, you know, all these doom and gloom things, I want people to think like, no, beer's still going to exist. We're not predicting like Rome is not dying. Like these things are still moving forward. So we get doom and gloom because we know what it could be and how it's not going to be that. But like, you know, you said restaurants fail at a bigger rate than breweries. They're still restaurants. Like that entire industry hasn't collapsed.
That is an accurate statement.
Yeah,
I appreciate that.
I kind of feel like when we talk about how we get doom and gloom because we're just three old grumpy white men, like I get that. But the reality is like this industry isn't dead. It's just not going to be what it was.
No, we've said that plenty of times.
Well,
It's
I
not
feel like
gonna
we
be
can't
what
say
we-
it enough.
But you know what? It's not even it's not going to be what it was. It's not going to be what we thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
We thought it was going to be utopia. We thought that we were going to challenge big beer and take over 50% of the market, and everyone's going to go, "Oh, I love this beer so much more than that macro beer." It was never going to be that. It's never going to be that. That's not what this is going to be. We're going to have to get more insular and more into our own communities, as Mike always says. And we're going to have to reinvent ourselves. And there will be another boon period in 15 years, 10 years, whatever it's going to be. And everybody else at that time is going to go, "Oh my God, I can make $1 billion off of this." And they're going to be wrong too. And it's going to be this like, it's this ebb and flow of that. But in between, guys, we're going to get incredible beer. And the guys who have been doing it forever, the ones that I feature all the time on Old Favorite Friday, I'm drinking a Bell's Porter right now.
Mhm.
Like, this is going to continue to be incredible. It's going to continue to taste as good as it ever has. And that never goes away.
Yeah.
We get to appreciate that.
I look forward to that. Like I mean, as doom and gloom as I may seem on this episode, and I always do try to paint this image of like the strong will survive, the ones who pivot and understand how to be local parts of their community will survive. Like to go back to the last episode, holy fuck, Joelle like reinvigorated me to a certain aspect. Like I know that I have group chats going on with a bunch of different people, and some of them are really fucking down sometimes about shit going on in this industry. And you know, it's hard to sometimes not get dragged down into that. But I do fucking love making beer. I do love marketing beer. I love the community of beer that I have been a part of in the past, um, and miss a lot of that, and hope for like a renaissance of sorts with that. Like it's this weird kind of like if we got to tear down a whole lot of this in order to rebuild it back the way that it kind of was with some more knowledge and perspective, then so be it. I hope that I can be a part of that. But yeah, like I still do really love this industry and want to be a part of it the best that I can be, and best that those out there who want to gainfully employ me will allow me to be, because I mean they were going to have to realize that people like I are only going to put up with so much anymore. And like yeah, like I hope that when that ebb becomes a flow again, hopefully I got that right on like the trajectory, that I can be along on the ride and not just, I mean, even if I am just like sitting at home or sitting at the bar of a brewery enjoying it and watching like people see the rise again, like I'll be happy with that. But man, would I like to be on the ride. For
Yeah,
it.
no, like as long as you're there for your local haberdashery or apothecary. Uh, um, I mean, like, yeah, there are certain things that do. It's not going to go the way of those, but I do think there's something where I think we just need to be more realistic. Like there was one time where you called up me and Codner because we were talking about how we're just so sick of this industry and I don't think I can drink beer anymore. And like, no, dude, I still like beer. Yeah, all this shit is going down. It's a nightmare, but I still like beer. And it kind of reminded me, I still like, I mean, I hate the fact that the I've gone through I hate hazies, I love hazies, I hate hazies. And the reason I hate hazies this time is because I think it's killing the beer industry because they all taste the same. And so if you've
You're
got
not
nine,
wrong.
yeah, I like I don't hate, like I used to hate hazy as a style. Now I've gone to appreciate hazy as a style, but I hate it as what it's doing to the industry. Because it's made it to the point where if I'm a 24-year-old and I go to a brewery and I drink 4 beers in a flight and they all taste the same, I'm like, fuck it, next. I'm moving on. Right?
Well, you pretty much had a pint of one beer.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I know, but like I don't see any reason for me to be here. But if I can go to a cocktail bar and get a gin and tonic and an old fashioned and a Negroni and like I can
and
go.
lift ride home.
Yeah, well, yeah. Well, hey, a drink's a drink. Honestly,
Yeah, I know. It's just yeah. I'm yeah. I just want it to be very clear. Like, are there issues going on? Yes. Are some of them personally affecting me? Yes. Am I frustrated? Fuck yes. But do I want to be in this industry? Yeah. I love being in this industry, and I want to contribute and I want to be respected for my contributions, both in respect and
then you
money
can't be
and
in this
money.
industry.
But it's just like, yeah, I try to look at things realistically.
No, I get you.
And that's really it. Yeah. Does things suck right now? Do things suck? Rather. But
Does they?
does
Does
things
they?
Rarely is the question asking. Is kids learning?
Is our kids learning?
But
That
yeah,
was a solid W reference there.
You did it better than me, just so we put it out there.
Yeah, no. Well, I mean, let's seriously. Who won
fool
the
me
game?
once.
By a
You
landslide.
can't get fooled
my
again.
friend. By a landslide, my friend.
Is anyone going to throw a shoe at me? All right.
So anyone who's listening to this podcast So welcome all to Joel's, the people that we got from Joel. You're immediately leaving because now you realize it's old white guys.
Oh, I forgot about that. Oh, we probably got a bump, and then they were like, "Oh, we're not going to listen to this anymore."
Yeah.
That's good. Listen, scare everybody off early on, and maybe one extra person was like, "I'm going to stick with these guys."
Well,
They
maybe
are
they're going
saying
through
things.
they're going through the archive right now, and they're not going to catch up to back into the modern times for a few weeks. So we at least got them on the hook for maybe a couple weeks.
I've always
Yeah,
had this
we'll
idea
have
that
we'll have guests. We'll have a guest next week and or next episode, and I think we're gonna have a couple guests on the episode after that. So it won't just be us talking. It- you're gonna drink hazy IPAs next week though.
Don't
next
support us. That's what we're saying. We are not important. I am not important. I won't say these other two guys. These other two
no, no,
guys
no,
are
no,
actually
no,
great.
no, no, no,
I am
no.
not important. Don't listen to me.
Like, be thankful that this is a podcast and not a video format. As boring as we are to listen to, oh, you would hate us.
Do people
Look at us.
like, okay? Honest question, like because so Tim, I was trying to listen to your appearance on Those Who Do.
So yeah,
And
I
so,
actually
hold on.
Nope.
So there was audio issues on that that track, which is funny because you guys talk about how you had audio issues the first time that you tried to record that episode, which also happened with the first time you were on this show with Joel and I way back. But you were like, it's fine if you listen to it on YouTube, and I was like, who the fuck listens to
Kevin's dad
podcasts on YouTube
Kevin's dad.
besides
Jim
Kevin's
Abbott,
dad?
yes.
But like so many of the podcasts that I listen to now are like, oh yeah, we're on YouTube. We got like this a video channel. I'm like, is YouTube really a
Yes.
big outlet for podcasts?
Yeah,
And I
it
guess so.
surprisingly is. It surprisingly is. Well, because the thing is, like, when you think about smart TVs, a lot of people will like, let me just put on like a YouTube channel as I fall asleep, so they can watch it, or they can just fall asleep and listen to it for a while. It's surprisingly larger than you would think. I mean, it's not. I'm not going to say like it's a giant audience, but like we have an audience of 4. So if we added a 5th, I feel like we're already like 25% larger.
25% increase.
Yeah.
So my dad told me recently, and Mike will appreciate this for sure. So in Michigan, Detroit area, we had big time wrestling. Not around the time I was growing up, but when my dad was growing up. And he said, you have to check out this podcast, Big Time Wrestling Podcast. And I looked for it, and it wasn't called the Big Time Wrestling Podcast. It was something else, but Big Time Memories or something like that. And the first thing I did was look it up as a podcast, because that's the first thing I wanted to do so I could listen to it. It doesn't exist as a podcast. It only exists on YouTube. And by the way, they put up photos and images, which is good for a visual medium, but I wanted to consume it as a podcast, but it was 100% on YouTube. And so you have that too. You have like people that just want to consume those things on YouTube and not at all as a podcast. But my dad was saying, oh, this is a podcast, because that's like the vernacular that he's used to.
Yeah.
But it's actually not. And I was like, okay, I guess I have to download each one of these and put them on my playlist and this, that, and the other. And they're great. They're really, really cool. And I'm like learning a lot about wrestling around that time. But yeah, people are absolutely getting content that way on a regular basis.
Yeah, like I this one podcast that I listen to, I'm subscribed to their Patreon as well, and they were uploading specific stuff to there, and a lot of it was YouTube, and I'm like, dudes, can you just like create an audio feed so that, because I listen like in my car, I don't want to have to pull up YouTube and then play it through my car. Like I just want to have it through there. And I actually had to show them how to set up an audio feed in Patreon so that I can then put that into my Apple podcasts and listen to them through there. But it's
Well, I mean, when you think about it, like, Instagram became more about reels than it did about pictures, right?
Yeah.
TikTok, I thought was a stupid fad. It's still around, and YouTube does the YouTube Shorts. I think
Yeah.
YouTube is kind of the perfect bridge between all of those. So they can do the short videos, they can do the long form videos, they can do like literally like sometimes I've even done it on my smart TV. I have literally just pulled up a playlist on YouTube because I know it's going to be better than the Spotify one, frankly, and just let it play, and then I fall asleep. Then I wake up at 3 a.m. and want and Uncrustable and don't understand what's going on.
That little window into your life gave me a great deal of joy. Not that that's like the most wonderful part of your life, but I like the Uncrustable part. So thank you for that.
I did not get into the Uncrustables until I started making lunches for my daughter. And then I was like, oh shit, these are kind of good. The other night, I drank one of those TG seltzers and fell asleep at like 7:30 in the evening. And at 1 o'clock in the morning, I was very happy that 7:30 Tim thought to pull an Uncrustable out of the freezer so it would be warm enough to eat.
All right. I think this is a good enough time as any to start to wrap things up here. So let's head on in to last calls, which I feel like this whole episode was just a fever dream last call. It's the point in time where we give each other an unspecific amount of time to talk about whatever it is that we want, beverage related or not. The only rules are that it is uninterrupted, unopposed, unobjected. I'm going to start things off here by sending out a sincere apology to our listeners. Not because of this, not because of this episode, not because of this episode. I don't apologize for that. I apologize for a very short-lived plugging of a particular company on our website and podcast. That I was unaware of issues that they had until this past week, where they just let their issues just completely hang out. I used to promote Sticker Mule as a business that you should get stickers from, and I have for my work. But when I received an email titled Trump 2024 that wasn't a joke in my inbox on Monday, talking about how I am the CEO being I'm a Trump supporter and we have been afraid to say that we are, and that the fact that this was not a joke shook me. But to find out that they had issues with COVID stuff and a lot more, I feel very bad that I had recommended them to you as listeners, because I have said before that I only want to recommend things that I believe in, because I have used them personally. I have used them for my business, and I apologize. I have closed off what I can from them. Unfortunately, I can't just close my account with them without contacting their customer service, and I don't feel like doing that. But I have removed payment information, addresses, blah, blah, blah. All of the links are down off of our website. So once I find another cool sticker company that I can recommend to you with hopefully better vetting on my end, I will give them a shout out. But for that, I am sorry. Don't use them unless you're one of those types of people. And in which case, how did you end up here?
I say you just alienated 30% of your Florida audience.
Bye. Tim.
Yeah. So, despite Mike so terribly leading into this plug, normally when I am not apparently a problem, apparently everyone has to adjust their audio so bad just to make me tolerable to listen to. It ruins things. but I was recently a guest on the Those Who Do podcast. This podcast had everyone from like the guy who played Hurley on Lost to the guy who wrote Shrek to me, who's done neither of those impressive things on that. And I would just give it a listen. Apparently on YouTube is the best way to do it. But give it a listen. I talk about how my life has not had trauma, and yet I act like it has. So I think it's a very good thing to listen to. Give Zach a listen, man. It's some pretty incredible stuff, and I find myself re-listening to a lot of those episodes that have not me, because who wants to listen to me more than once?
Kevin?
I know we're not supposed to comment, but Mike, I support everything you just said, and want to make sure that everyone knows that it's not just saying that. It's me. I believe Tim's in the same ballpark as well. But I just want to make sure everyone knows that it's not just Mike Urevich saying that. That's the entire United We Drink podcast. This is my actual last call. The other day, I was doing an event, and a person said to me, I don't know how it came up, but he asked me what my age was, and I told him what my age was, and I just turned 43 years old. And he goes, "Oh, you're a baby. You're a baby." And I said, "Oh, okay." And I just went on with my day. And then the next day, I was listening to one of my favorite podcasts, or a podcast I listen to all the time. It's Locked On Tigers. It's on the Locked On Network. It's a daily Detroit Tigers podcast. And this guy who runs the podcast is like 30 years old, 33 or something like that. And he made a comment about being old, about being like he hasn't seen a Tigers team do well since he was like transitioning from high school to college. And he was making a statement about his age. And I think it was 33. And I got myself thinking, "Oh, you're a baby. You're not old. Why are you saying that?" And then I paused and realized that, wait a minute, I'm doing the same thing that this guy did to me. I'm making a judgment about age, and I'm kind of like contextualizing things in a really odd way. And the thing that sprung to my mind is that every person you talk to is the oldest they've ever been when you're talking to them. And that's a really, really important thing to remember, because we're all getting older. And a 50-year-old person talking to me thinks, "Oh, yeah, you're 43, you're still in the prime of your life," or whatever. But I'm noticing changes in my body. I'm noticing changes in my strength and things that I can do. And they're really troublesome. It's tough to go through those kind of transitions and those stages. And I realize that someone who's 10 or 15 or 20 years older is sitting there going, "Well, I'm going through more changes, so I should be, I'm going through nothing." That's not the way it really is. At the end of the day, and I'll say it again, and I think it's really important to say, every single person who makes one of those comments has never been older than the day that they said it. And we're always going through these transitions. And life is really fucking complex. And it's tough, right? People that are trying to have families, people that are trying to stay athletic and healthy. It's really, really difficult. So remember, no matter what age you are, whether you're 70 or 30 or whatever it is, that when someone says that or makes a comment about their age, they're dealing with some shit. They're dealing with what it means to age. And just be a little bit kinder.
Here. Tim, were you bursting at the seams to make a Mitch Hedberg joke reference?
Yes! Right? Here's the picture of me when I was younger. Yeah, every picture of you is a picture of you when you're younger. That's how that works. I knew you got that. Thank God. Oh, God. It was like I wanted to explode. Like, I can't Hey, it's the last calls. I can't interrupt.
We are not a video podcast, so you could not see Tim with both hands over his mouth, jumping
Leaping
around
out of
like
his skin.
jumping around like a 7-year-old, which is much younger than what he is at the oldest point of his life right now. But
I knew the second I did that, and like I saw like the twinkle in your eye. You're like, God damn it, Tim is also going to get the reference I'm making. Yeah, no, yeah. It was mentioned all the way. Yeah, that's how cameras work.
you're also from the land of Hedberg, so
Yeah, no, absolutely. And the other thing is like I literally, again, I'm not supposed to comment,
Literally.
but fuck it, I don't care.
Literally.
I had kind of a realization the other day of I've always said someday the biggest lie I believed growing up is that someday I would feel like an adult, which is a huge lie. But then two, I realized that like I am so guilty of but if only that younger person understood. And I had to remind myself that age is not the same thing as knowledge.
Or wisdom.
Yeah. So I
Or
really,
batting average. What?
That is true. Mike, thank you for being very authentic in your responses and making a true statement that is not relevant to what we're talking about, but 100% true.
I'm glad
No
that
one
we have
can debate that.
I'm glad that we have turned last calls into literally the antithesis of the rules of no comments, no interruptions.
All the rules have gone out the window with this episode. I think that's what should be the name of the episode.
Oh, let me write that down before I have to text you guys tomorrow and ask you what was the thing that Kevin said.
Was
Kevin, you want to plug
was there a
anything?
game show?
Do I want to plug anything?
Was that last season?
Who in the what now?
Wasn't the game show last season? No, that was the same episode.
Oh, okay. Well, whatever.
I am thoroughly confused. I don't have anything to plug, quite honestly. Go to our social media accounts, barrelamonks.com. I just said I don't have anything to plug, and then I started talking. That's embarrassing. But and follow our pairing series on food and beer pairings. It's something I'm really passionate about. And I think we're doing a really, really good job of talking about beer and food pairings in a simple, straightforward light, and kind of shedding light on how incredible food and beer can be together. It's called The Perfect Pair. Please check it out.
Tim, you want to plug anything?
Yeah, I would like all of our listeners to go to unitedwedrink.com. We have a lot of merchandise. We've got links to our YouTube page, which is probably the best way to listen to our podcast is via YouTube.
Suck up.
You can interact. You can interact with Kevin's dad. It's fantastic. He's a great guy. I really enjoy everything he has to say because he's probably the smartest, funniest part of this podcast. Frankly, he's the fourth head on this. Like he's the fourth Beatle.
You know how you never want to go into the comment section? That's still the case, but it's not nearly as questionable.
It is. It's a lot of fun.
I still do not know what the whole Michigan militia comment was about. I guess we mentioned something about that on
it was probably me. You know, I just fly off the handle.
No, you fly off the handle talking about small no one towns in Minnesota, which there are a lot of. But I didn't take you as a militia man, especially from another Midwest state.
Oh Jesus Christ, no. I'm scared of him.
He's scared of Michiganders, especially those UP people.
I don't
The Upers?
I don't trust anyone from Michigan. Anyway.
I don't really have anything to plug. Thank you everyone for if you made it this fucking far, congratulations.
You've done something incredible. The endurance you've shown is admirable, and we want to subscribe to your podcast.
Go to your local favorite brewery order a beer and tell them that it's on our tab. And when they say, what? Just pay for it yourself. That is your reward for getting this far. Other than that, check out our website, unitedwedrink.com, and all of our social media, as Tim kind of talked about.
We have merch.
Yeah, we got that, and the beef. And well, you know what? We have a guest next week. I'm looking very forward to him being on the show.
Someone else talking.
And
We'll be focused.
Yeah,
We'll be really focused on this guest.
yeah. He's a longtime listener of our show until now. And we're going to try to have to reel him back in by having him on the show. So we'll see you guys again in a couple weeks. Thank you. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. The end.
That should be the sign out of every show. Thank you. I'm sorry.
Man, I just want to apologize to all of our listeners. This was
To
not
half
the
of
show
our
that we
listeners.
intended.
I want to apologize to half our listeners. Not all of them.
No,
I just
never all. Come on. Let's be honest with ourselves.
Today's episode of Brew You Know was brought to you by Athletic Brewing. Some video games, tough actin' tenactin', alcohol, lots and lots of alcohol, and by support from listeners like you.